The day her husband moved into a separate bedroom was the day Amara realized something was deeply broken in her marriage. Not because of a fight, not because of betrayal, but because of silence. The kind of silence that slowly makes a person feel invisible. The kind of silence that hurts more than harsh words. For years, Amara had tried to be patient. She told herself marriage had seasons. She told herself love could sometimes look quiet. She told herself things would get better. But when David carried his pillow into another room in their new house, something inside her whispered a painful truth. This was no longer just a difficult season. Something was wrong. The day they moved into the new house was supposed to feel like a fresh beginning. Boxes were stacked against the walls, curtains were half hung, the children ran from room to room with excitement, their laughter filling the empty space like music. But for Amara, the house did not feel new. It felt like old pain wearing fresh paint. She was unwrapping plates in the kitchen when she saw David walk past holding his pillow and his small bag. She frowned. "Why are you taking those there?" David did not stop walking. "I'll be using that room." Amara blinked in confusion. "Using that room for what?" He opened the door to one of the smaller bedrooms. "To sleep." For a moment, everything inside Amara went still. "You mean temporarily, right?" she asked carefully. David sighed. "No, I mean I'll be sleeping here from now on." Her heart dropped. "David, we are husband and wife." "I have too much on my mind," he replied flatly. "We just moved into a new house and your first decision is to separate from me?" "I am doing what gives me peace." Amara gave a short, painful laugh. "So, I am your problem now?" "No one said that. You didn't have to." David rubbed his forehead. "I am under pressure. Bills, school fees, responsibilities. I am carrying everything. The least you can do is understand." Her voice trembled. "Understanding does not mean I should accept being treated like I do not matter." "There you go again," he muttered. "Doing what? Talking? Disrespecting me." Amara stepped back slowly. Every time she tried to express how she felt, it ended the same way. Disrespect. That word had become a weapon. That evening, David entered the room and shut the door. Amara stood outside staring at it, realizing that the emotional distance between them had finally become physical. Life continued, but the coldness remained. David was a caring father. He laughed with the children, helped with homework, checked their school bags, carried them when they fell asleep on the couch. But with Amara, things were different. His words were short, his tone distant, his attention absent. She tried to keep the connection alive. "I made your favorite stew," she would say. He would reply without looking up. At night, she would knock softly on his door. "Can we talk?" "I am resting," he would answer. One evening, she gathered courage. "David, I miss my husband." "I am here," he replied without emotion. "No, you are not." He dropped his phone with irritation. "What exactly do you want me to do? I am under pressure." "Marriage is not just bills and responsibilities," she said, her eyes filled with pain. "And marriage is not a stage where I must perform affection when I am drowning. So, wanting love for my husband is too much? You always twist things." "I am not twisting anything." "Lower your voice. Lower your pride for once and listen to me." His expression hardened. "This is exactly why I keep my distance. You are disrespectful." The conversation ended the same way it always did. With silence and tears she cried alone. Months passed. The house became beautiful, but their marriage remained broken. Amara stopped trying as much. She still took care of the home, still cared for the children, but something inside her had withdrawn. She no longer expected warmth. She no longer knocked on his door. One afternoon, while she was cooking, Zara came into the kitchen. "Mommy?" "Yes, baby." "Why does Daddy sleep in the other room?" Amara froze. "I told my friend that Daddy has his room and you have your room," Zara continued. "She said that is strange." Before Amara could respond, Chinedu added quietly, "Sometimes when you are alone, you look sad." Amara forced a smile and hugged them. "Daddy loves you very much," she said softly. Zara asked gently, "Does he love you too?" Amara could not answer. She simply told them to wash their hands for dinner. But someone else had heard the question. David stood just outside the kitchen, unable to move. That question stayed in his mind long after the house became quiet. Does he love you too? For the first time, David began to reflect honestly. He remembered the early days of their marriage, how Amara believed in him when he had nothing, how she stood beside him during financial struggles, how she supported him when things fell apart. And slowly, he began to see something painful. He had not physically abandoned his wife, but emotionally, he had left her alone for years. He had used pressure as an excuse. He had called her disrespectful when all she wanted was connection. He had shut her out. He had hurt her deeply. He had made her feel unwanted in her own marriage. That night, David did not sleep. For the first time, he saw clearly. He had been providing for his family, but starving his marriage. The next morning, he found Amara outside hanging clothes. "I came to talk to you," he said gently. She did not respond immediately. "I heard what Sarah asked yesterday," he continued. Amara paused. "I heard the silence too." His voice broke. "I have been unfair to you. I dismissed your pain. I called you disrespectful when all you wanted was love. I shut you out. I hurt you deeply, and I am truly sorry." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "Do you know what it did to me?" she asked. "I am beginning to understand," he replied. "I felt lonely while married," she said softly. "I cried so many nights, David. I began to question my worth." David lowered his head in shame. "I do not deserve quick forgiveness," he said quietly. "But I want to change. I want to do better. I want to rebuild what I damaged, even if it takes time." Amara looked at him for a long moment. "I forgive you," she said finally. "But healing will take time." "I understand," he replied. For the first time in years, they stood close without emotional distance between them. Not perfect, but honest. Not a perfect marriage, not an instant restoration, but a real one. And sometimes that's where healing starts. In the days that followed, David did not just apologize with words. He began to show change through his actions. He became more present, more patient, and more intentional with Amara. He listened when she spoke, no longer calling her pain disrespect. It was not easy for Amara to heal from years of emotional neglect, but she could see that this time, David truly understood the damage he had caused. Slowly, trust began to return. Their conversations became warmer, their home became lighter, and the distance between them began to fade. One evening, as they sat together watching their children play, Amara looked at David and saw not a perfect man, but a changed one, and for the first time in a long while, she felt peace. Their marriage was not rebuilt in one day, but from that moment on, they both chose to rebuild it together. And at last, the new house truly became a home.